It's back. It's Monday. And I told everybody that on Friday I'd be coming to you from an undisclosed location, which I am. The recap lunch hour with me, Ryan McGuffey, Guff here. Jacked up. Final week of the NFL season. What's up, people? Here come the comments. I can already feel them coming in. Obviously, I'm not in Chicago. That's pretty clear due to A, I'm sitting outside, B, there's a palm tree behind me. So we're going to play a little Where in the World is Ryan McGuffey? Where in the world are we doing the recap lunch hour from? Well, your pick. Who do we got here? Mike, one more game of misery. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Bears having one last game at Lambeau Field on Sunday as they wrap up this. I keep saying, I've used the word debacle. That's what the 2024 season is to me. It's just one big debacle. Mike thinks I'm in Florida. Okay, my hint to you is where in the world is Ryan McGuffey? So I'm not in Florida. Not in Florida. Jess, what's up? Definitely I'm not in Green Bay, Florida, or Hawaii. Neither of those. I'll keep giving the same hit. Elvis on a shark says, go Pack, go. I'm not, dude. I've been saying this, and it's going to make a lot of people, a lot of fans unhappy, but how can you hate something you envy? It really is. I mean, you don't think that 11-0 record matters to Matt LaFleur? It does. Elvis. Look at Elvis. Hang on. I want to come back to Elvis. We have Key West Guff, which sounds fun. We've got a great chef behind us. Costa Rica, says Mike. I love it. Now we're starting to get creative. John, go get John Lynch, make him CEO, President of Football Operations, let him pick the GM and head coach. So you're going to now – he's under contract, I believe, in San Francisco. I mean, I don't know how that would work. Probably have to buy him out of that. Hey, look at that. The real Bill Sims. The Bears are straight, hot garbage. Daniel says Cancun. Not in Cancun. I'm going to go back to Elvis on a shark here. I am in the Bahamas. Pretty impressive stuff there, Elvis. Pretty impressive stuff. For you, yes, RF is coming in with the Bahamas as well. Appreciate that. Look, so anyway, just because I'm in the Bahamas doesn't mean I'm not doing the recap lunch hour. And that is what's happening from here. Pretty damn good, right? Life's pretty good. Pablo, don't hate the player, hate the game. Enjoy that heat, Guff. You deserve it. Hashtag recap lunch hour, fam. Love you, Pablo. You're the best, Mike. Pete Carroll would be my president of football ops. I'm all in on the Pete Carroll train. I'm telling you, I would even consider him as head coach. And some people like Cap, he's 73 years old. Let's say if it was a 3-year deal. If it was a 3-year deal, and we can't guarantee him, but let's just say if I painted you a scenario that they made the playoffs in years 2 and 3 of that deal, and his staff was so strong that he had a head coach in waiting on the back end of that, I think that people would buy that scenario because it seems so far-fetched to have back-to-back playoff teams in this town. Jess, I can't believe you were doing the show on a beach in the Bahamas. Dedication, Guff. That is true. And that's what we are in the recap. We grind. We're a bunch of grinders. And that's what we're doing here. I'm grinding, Jess, so we can keep this awesome show going. And I obviously appreciate the hell out of you guys because I'm doing this on vacation. Spent this morning swimming with some pigs, going snorkeling, really good beach time. Spent some time on the beach with the iguanas. Pretty damn good stuff. Ray, have a great time. Enjoy the weather. Appreciate you. Pete is not your average 73-year-old. The dude has endless energy, and he's one of the best culture guys of all time. So, Mike, I'm on that train with you. One of the best culture. Yeah, Clyde, what's up, man? Pete Carroll's 73 years old. Stop. What's with the ageism? They just hired Bill Belichick to be a college football coach. I'm not letting the 73-year-old. I want the best people in the building, regardless of age. You know, can you guarantee me Ben Johnson's going to be a great head football coach? Is there anybody that can? I don't know. I don't think you can. Clyde, how you doing, man? How was your Christmas? Fantastic. Always good to be with family. Any news on our Chicago White Sox and Cubs? Best choice for the Bears. Look at Clyde coming in. 5 questions in one. I love it, Clyde. I'm doing great. How could I not? Look at this tree behind me. How was your Christmas? Fantastic. Any news on the Sox and Cubs? Nothing of note. We did drop a podcast on Friday night over the weekend that me and BA did, kind of New Year's resolutions for the White Sox. Check it out. It's obvious to say, oh, we want a 100-win team, but a little bit more realism in there, a little bit more realism. I like BA's got a pretty interesting take and a pretty interesting goal that I think is interesting in that podcast. Cubs, we're still waiting, guys. We're still waiting for something to happen with that team. Swayze, have you heard the rumor that the Bears are going to extend Puls? So I think they have one of two options. They fire him or they extend him, because if they keep him, he's in the final year of his deal, and you're not going to get a head coach that wants to come here with a lame duck GM. And that might upset people, but if you're keeping Ryan Poles, I think extending him makes a lot of sense. And that might, again, you might not like it, but at the end of the day, if that's what your plan is, to keep the GM and let him find a new head coach on his own, he needs to be extended. Bradley, enjoy the weather, bro. Bears, get the right guy for you. Agreed. Get the best guy that's going to be a leader of the entire program, CEO, and a great football coach. Mike says Ben is his 1, Pete is his 2. Here's some of the, if you were looking for the podcast, I believe that's dropped right here, whether you're on Facebook or if you're watching us on YouTube. I just put those there in the chat. To me, Poles is gone, no question, says Mike. I don't know if there's a question. Maybe you're saying if it were up to you, no question. I don't know. I've been arguing this 50-50. I think on Friday I said I'm finally on the fire Poles train after that debacle on Thursday night. But again, I'm in for both arguments. What I don't want him is, if you are keeping him and you're not extending him, then you're setting yourself up for failure in the head coaching search. So shaking my head about Mike. I'm a fan of the REKAP lunch hour. Guff. Daniel, Poles will be remembered for hiring Flus. He didn't necessarily hire him. That was a arranged marriage. He didn't hire Flus. He basically was forced to pick from a small candidate pool because they were doing interviews for head coaches at the same time they were doing interviews for GM. That's completely a backwards way of doing things. And you'll also be remembered for putting together no offensive line. Now, that I'll buy, Daniel. That one I'll buy. No offensive line. Really just ignored it, to be honest with you. And the defensive line. Montez Sweat, yes, but the whole defensive line's a mess too. You got to build from the inside out. Elvis says everyone loved – yeah, everyone loved everyone. You know, we didn't know the problem that was about to happen after the complete mess in Washington. I sure as hell don't like it, says Swayze. Extending Ryan Poles, stop. Huge mistake. Bradley, if you're keeping him, you're not getting a head coach. You're going to have candidates that come in and go, I don't want the job. I don't want the job. If the GM's on a lame duck year, I have to spend year 1 rebuilding this, and he could be gone at the end of that. If I were the hotshot head coach, like if I'm Ben Johnson, no way. Out. Eric, hope all's well. I'm glad there's only one more game of misery, but honestly, do you think Bears keep Poles? Yeah, I mean, we're talking about this right now. I honestly am 50-50. I don't know which way they're headed. I honestly don't know which way they're headed. I really want to stop saying you could convince me to go both ways, because I do think I'd like to just see this thing reset again with the quarterback under center, Caleb. He needs coaching, and everybody in the same line. Phil, since Corbin Burns signed with Arizona, what will the Cubs do? Is Pete Alonso, Oroki Sasaki, Bregman still in play? I think Oroki Sasaki for sure is in play. I would love to see them sign Pete Alonso. I've been saying that for weeks. I think he's going to be like a 5 for 125 type guy. He makes a lot of sense. He gives that offense so much pop and so much just gives him an edge, and I love that. And plus, he's a righty to go pair really well with Kyle Tucker, who's that great left-handed bat. I don't think Bregman makes a lot of sense for the Cubs. I don't. I don't think he's a $175 million third baseman. That I think the allocating of resources needs to be pretty smart. Craig says Poles is getting fired. Very much on the table. Keep in mind, I don't know how much the final game matters, but if they go out and continue what happened on Thursday night in Green Bay, and we know the score will be a lot different, that matters to the McCaskies. That might be the one thing that matters more than winning. More than winning. See that joke in there? No, seriously. The one thing they seem to care about is Green Bay. Well, if you really cared, you wouldn't be 0-11 against them under Matt LaFleur when you face off. I think they're going to come on. Let's be honest. Packers, who don't really need to play for anything, their backups are better than some of the Bears' talent. Malik Willis started games this year and won. What team has kept a GM who's 14-36? That's it. That's the thing. You have the Minnesota Vikings and probably the Detroit Lions tonight that are both going to win 14 games this season. Think about that. Two teams in your division that are both going to have 14 wins in 2024, and you have 14-3 as a GM. That's horrific, especially when this is supposed to be a year. No more losing. Why is every Cub signing so uninspiring? I think the reason is because there's no big names attached to it. And I'm looking at MLB trade rumors right now. I mean, you look at these names, all the big guys are going elsewhere. The Cubs just aren't playing with a full deck. They're going to have over a $215 million payroll, and they're not playing from the high cards. And that's sad. It is. It's sad to be the Chicago Cubs with that operating cash flow and budget and not be able to spend like the Arizona flipping Diamondbacks. You shouldn't be losing good players to teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's ridiculous. A lot of stuff going on. John, if the Bears hire Kingsbury, I'm done. I'll pick another team to root for. John, I actually will co-sign this because Cliff Kingsbury didn't even get the OC job. I look at his resume and say, I don't understand. He's not been a good head coach in multiple levels. He's a great coordinator. He's doing great things in Washington. I understand why you bring him into the building and interview him for the job, but I just don't see at the end of the day how he could be the best option for you at head coach when we've seen him flop elsewhere. Jamal Lewis, great running back. If you didn't hire Flus, why did you keep him? Because he couldn't. He couldn't fire him. He wanted to fire Matt Eberflus and line up the Caleb Williams experience with the right head coach in mind. He was told from guys above him he couldn't. Now, that's what's a problem. It's a big problem in Chicago sports that these GMs are doing these jobs one arm time behind their damn back. And if that's going to continue, some people are like, well, if I were polls, I would resign. Really? Would you? How many of these jobs are out there? And how many people are lining up for them? I mean, but I will say, doing it with one arm behind your back, it's not great. I love that you guys are responding to each other in the chat. That makes me so happy. What's up, Jess? When is the last Hooters outing with the crew of REKAP? Hoping to make it out for that one. No worries if you don't have the date handy since you're in the Bahamas. Jess, I got all the knowledge. January 7th, Tuesday night, we are at Hooters Melrose Park. It's our final show of the year. It'll be Cap, it'll be Tom Waddle, and it'll be Alex Brown. And to that point, tonight we do have a show. It'll be Cap and Waddle. Olin is in Orlando because his son is playing for the Illini against Katie's South Carolina Gamecocks. So really, we got too many. We got both sides of the rooting ledger. I like South Carolina in that game, by the way, for everybody. So Olin is there, rightfully so, being a dad. That's tonight here on the channel with Cap and Waddle. But just to your point, we will be out there. Yeah, try to be there. Try to get it's our last one of the year. So forget the season. Come out and have fun with us. All right? If the Chicago Hires better. Yes, Clyde, I agree with that. I totally agree with that. Whether you like it or not. Jets are interviewing Rex Ryan. How about that? Rex Ryan's getting lined up for a chance to go back to the Jets. I think Woody Johnson's getting impatient as an owner. He's going back. He's like, well, man, when Rex was here, things were different. We went to back-to-back AFC title game with Mark Sanchez. Mike's saying so Jets, but dude, the guy's in the game. I mean, he's in the game. He does the pre and post for ESPN, or he does Sunday count. So I don't think it's a stupid idea to bring in people and hear what they have to say. I don't. For me, that process should be about gathering as much info and knowledge as possible. Swayze thinks the reset would be best, probably Ben Johnson and the assistant GM up there in Detroit. Again, I don't trust the people that are making those calls, and that's a big problem here. I don't trust the people that are keeping these guys under contract. And if they fire them, who are they hiring? Well, tell me why it won't be the same. I don't think anybody can. No way Tommy Nichols ponies up for Alonso. I can see that, Kurt. I can see that. Roki to the Cubs, a closer and a dangerous bat. Yeah, I'm with you, Clyde. I think that you can't just address one of those things. I think you got to address all three of them. But I don't know what type of money. Roki Sasaki up front's only going to cost you about $7 million. They do need a stud closer. They absolutely need a bat to balance out that lineup. Bradley's not a popular take. But what if the Bears traded out of the number one this year, which is going to be around 8, 9, or 10th overall? Got a haul for future first and drafted Bo Nix and or Michael Penix, or even take Jaden, just saying. So, Bradley, have you seen like a lot of the big pundits that do this for a living say if you redid the draft today, it would mainly be most people would take Caleb 1-1. It's not the talent that people are questioning. Everything else. It's everything around him. I've seen some stuff about the work ethic of late, which I don't like. But you know why Bo Nix is succeeding in Denver? Look at his head coach. Look at his leadership. Mike says Jed's uninspiring, not unexpected. Mike says, and Waldron, yeah. You're talking about, I think you're talking about what Poles will be remembered for, even though that was an Eberflus hire. It's been out there, Phil, for a long time. I think Horner, they need to figure out if he's healthy or not after the new year. And that's TBD. They don't know yet because he won't have a better – I think around Cubs convention they'll have an understanding of that. Now, this is a take that to me is the dumbest of all. And I appreciate you, Uncle Ted. But saying we should have kept Justin Fields for what? What has Justin Fields won? What has he done in Pittsburgh? He's been watching a lot. He was 4-2 and they benched him due to performance. Why should we have kept Justin Fields? He was awful last year. Don't agree with that at all. We just all have PTSD at this point. We know why Cliff didn't get the OC job. He should have. Eberflus didn't want his replacement to be on his staff. It's a joke. Agreed. That's part of the problem. He didn't want a guy that could be possibly more popular than him. That's a fact. Thomas, if the Bears lose, if or when the Bears lose on Sunday, the Packers will even disown them. No, they'll never shy away from beating the Bears twice a year. That's free wins. Those are free wins. Watching our future starting running back right now, Caleb Johnson, playing for Iowa, stud. But they're not – I mean, you're talking about later rounds maybe. I like the under in that game, by the way. Couldn't give it out as my bet of the day because the game's already started when we're on the air here. Signing Jack Flaherty and keeping Nico, says Uncle Ted. Jack Flaherty's going to cost you every bit of $25 million a year. Sean Manaea got 3 for $75. Jack Flaherty's going to be probably in the 3 for $60, 4 for $85 type camp. But, again, you're the Cubs. If the Cubs would sign Alonso, where does Bush go? Bush could play third. There's also the DH. And I don't know. I would consider even packaging Bush. I really would. Hey, Roomy, did my alarm clock ever show up? That's a joke from last week when I said that Mike McKinney was my college roommate, which I can't tell from your profile picture here, but I'm pretty damn sure that's not you. Good joke, though, Mike. I like it. Pablo, if you have to wrap up and get on that fighter jet, we all understand. Maverick looking sharp, bud. Hey, I was trying to do this without the glasses, but, sorry it's so bright here. So I'm going to keep them on. A couple more here, guys. I am not going to probably go the full length today, but I am going to keep going. Isn't Woody's 17-year-old son calling all the shots in New York? I know. How about they're part of the discussions. I'll put it that way. They really have. And, by the way, you're talking about the Jets here too, Swayze. I mean, the Jets, the Bears, really at the end of the day, there's too many comps rather than differences. Mike, never good when your owner makes player personnel decisions based on Madden rating. No, that should never happen. Cubs don't need a closer. They need a lefty in the pen. They absolutely need a closer. They blew 26 saves last year and 13 in the ninth inning. They absolutely need a closer. You want me to elaborate on the Caleb work stuff? Kurt Herbstreit alluded to it on Thursday night. There was a report, I think, in Barstool over the weekend that said there's some stuff about Caleb not being the first in the building, not being the last to leave. And I think that's what Herbstreit was kind of alluding to on Thursday night. So we need to get that fixed big time. And I think he just needs a flipping coach. He needs a flipping coach. We forget Penix, Daniels, and Nix are older than Caleb. Yes. We do. And again, their leadership in those situations, certainly in Washington, is better than it is here. CPO Guff, do you think if Poles gets extended, he will mainly go after Ben Johnson? I don't know about mainly, but I think that they are zero targeting Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Brian Flores. And I think there's a short list, about 4 or 5 names. So I wouldn't say mainly, but I do think that being an offensive mind was certainly part of their plan. Fields won more than one. I mean, Fields had 3 years. By the way, Uncle Ted, that's what we're going to come down to. Who's a better player? Period. Who's a better player? Justin Fields didn't do any of the stuff from a statistical standpoint that Caleb Williams has done in 1 season. Come on, man. He wasn't awful. I didn't say he was awful. He's just not good enough to be a starting quarterback. And the entire NFL told you that because no one wanted to line up and trade for him. And the Pittsburgh Steelers did and told you everything and they went out and signed Russell Wilson. And who's starting in the playoffs for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Yeah, Clyde, thank you. Hey, Unc, I appreciate the Justin Fields contingent out there that will never die. How's it working out? I'm guessing for the Steelers, they've actually, I don't think they're that great of a team, but they're good enough to be a playoff. It's working out pretty well. They're in the playoffs. Yeah, well, Mike, there's not a lot of us, bud. Not a lot of us on the Caleb train. The same pundits that said Josh Allen was a risk in the top 10 also said Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's who said? I'm not saying that there's no risk. There's always risk in taking a quarterback. We're talking about drafting the Iowa kid. Jess says Fields is still getting over his demons from the Bears, so the Bears are right in parting ways. Caleb has more mental toughness, but you can see the Bears are taking their toll too. Yeah, everybody who comes through and plays here is certainly like I said, we all have PTSD. So do Bears players. Same pundits that thought the same with Lamar. Yeah, guys, I know I'm giving you the information I got, and there are people who we can go back and look. There's receipts for everything. So there are some people who didn't want Lamar and Jalen Hurts. We know Bill Polian thought Lamar was a wide receiver. How'd that work out? Yeah, he's part of the guys that blew 13 in the 9th. So unless you're confident he's ready for that role, I can't sit there and say he's a lights out guy right now. Mike, thanks for the clarification. I knew it wasn't you. If we were college roommates, man, that would have been fine. You just would have been an older freshman. All good. Partial show while you're on vacation is very much appreciated. Thank you. Have a great New Year. Appreciate you, Pablo. It's going to be a great celebration for sure. A couple more here. Kirk a fool. Addressing the trenches while Fields is here would have done 2 things. Really see what you had in Justin Fields. Set the table for your new quarterback, Justin Fields. Agreed, but they have a much better situation with the offensive line than in Pittsburgh than they do here, and he's not playing. Jess, thanks for the show today, Guff. Still have to work today and tomorrow, so it's nice to have the show to look forward to. Appreciate you guys. A couple more. Fields won 10. Yeah, he won more than Caleb. Come on. I mean, seriously. Thank you. Pablo, I don't know, paying a high price extension for mediocre Fields, but it would. I'm moving on for the Justin Fields stuff because it's gross. Bradley, I really like your Guff. I really like your honesty. Unfortunately, the guys on ESPN 1000, some are delusional and kid. That's fine. That's totally fine, and I get it because everyone just wants he's part of the problem. All this other stuff. Time for the bet of the day. You think I'm not coming out here with a bet of the day just because I'm in the Bahamas? That's insane. I can't play the games like I want to here. I will say, for those of you who follow me, and we were on a real heater, and we still have been on a heater. On Friday, we had an awesome Texas A&M at -3 and 2.5, feeling really good up 24-7. I don't know if you watched that game late to the night on Friday night. Wow, what a complete colossal failure down the stretch for Texas A&M. They even took a late lead after USC rallied from 17 down to take a 28-24 lead. They score with like a minute 50 left in the game to have a 3-point lead. We would have covered. We were sitting there with -2.5, and USC went down the field and won the football game outright. So we fall instead of getting to 500. You're right, Swayze. Absolutely, man. I'm about to have one as soon as I'm done with this show. We are going to go. So instead of getting to 8-8-1, we fall to 7-9-1. We're going to ride Jameson Williams and the Detroit Lions tonight. He has been over this number. Look this up quite a few times as of late. He had 5 last week. He had 3 against Buffalo, but 5, 5, 5, and 3 straight games after that. 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 6. Jameson Williams over 3.5 catches. We know what he did to the Bears. That is my bet of the day, Jess. The Toledo 6 overtime game last week was insane. I never wanted to bowl against them so badly. And for those of you who were following me, I had Toledo plus the points. And Justin's out here throwing darts in Orlando, in Hawaii. Jess clarifies in the Bahamas. And with that, I'm going to put a wrap on this edition of the Recap Lunch Hour with me, Brian McGuffey. I appreciate you guys. Obviously, I appreciate you. I'm out here doing this in the Bahamas. I appreciate you guys for joining, as always. Plenty to discuss as we get closer and closer. We were supposed to discuss, by the way, and I never even, Katie's probably going, what the hell? We tweeted, and I even wrote it up a banner for the best Chicago sports story of 2024. Didn't even discuss it. We're going to have to punt on that and come back to it maybe tomorrow. If I do a show, I might do a show tomorrow. Let's see. It's New Year's Eve. I'll probably do a show. We'll figure it out. All right. Brian McGuffey for Katie behind the scenes. This is the recap. Remember, tonight we have Felco Football Recap Live with Cap and Tom Waddle, and plenty of stuff as the Bears wrap up their final week of the NFL season. Appreciate you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.